Over the last month, actually 1 month today, that's why I'm making this video, I have been playing Throne and Liberty. I started on October 6th, and I've been playing it basically every day, weekends, weekdays, playing it every day, spending what has accumulated up to about 150 hours in the game over the last month. And I thought it'd be a fun idea to go back for like a 1 month reflection or a 1 month look back to see how far I've come and kind of where we're at now, and give like some opinions and thoughts as somebody who is what I would argue addicted to this game, and somebody who really, really, really enjoys this game, loves this game, and feels passionate about this game, I guess. So I think we're going to break it into two parts. We'll go over the bad first, because I know a lot of people on the internet like to hear about the bad, and then we'll talk about kind of the good parts. So for the bad, I have a longer list than the good, and the first part being a large majority of the content is locked to the top guilds in this game. Now, the problem with this game is that you have like a lot of guild v guild content. You're fighting over boonstones, things like that. And if you're not in like a top 20 guild who is pretty, I guess, hardcore, I would say, into the game, you are locked out of a large, very fun majority of what makes Throne and Liberty a really fun game. I myself am not in a top 20 guild, and I myself am also locked out of this. And it hasn't really hindered my experience yet. I feel like it might in the coming future, but it hasn't right now. So I really can't complain here, but I know for a large majority of players who really like the PvP aspect of MMOs, they are really locked down to arenas, which I hear there's lots of other issues with, or like nighttime conflict or things like that, which it's just not the same as the guild versus guild content that, like I said, a large majority of players are locked out of. So that is definitely a bad thing. I would say the second bad thing on my list, anyway, is that the top guilds team up and basically take over servers. It seems like you can have friendly guilds, and then on top of the friendly guilds, you can guilds are doing this thing where like they highlight people in a different color, and then they're basically creating this absolutely massive alliance, exploiting the game to do so. I guess not exploiting, but they're not playing the game the way it's intended to be played to do so, and that is essentially really, again, hindering a lot of people's experience on the servers, because they're essentially taking over the servers. You'll never be able to kill a conflict boss. You'll never be able to do any guild. I guess you can still do guild v guild stuff, but conflict bosses, for example, which are a big part of the game, you just can't do that anymore, because the top guilds are teaming up, taking over, and it's kind of ruining the experience for a lot of people. The third thing on the list, the constant glitching. I mean, if you play this game, you know it's just all the time. The biggest pet peeves for me, I mean, I could sit here for like a whole entire video and just go over all the constant glitching and stuff in this game. But the two biggest ones for me that I find impact my gameplay the most would be, one, the stupid casting bar thing when you do a long cast, and I don't know exactly what happens, but something hits you and you get stuck at zero with this like long cast, and you have to like do a different action to get out of it to then be able to go back and do more actions. It's really annoying, and it happens all the time. And then the second thing that I say happens all the time is like flying constantly. I'm like, oh, I take off from like a balcony type thing, and I'm like flying, and then I go to land, and then my character just never lands, and then all of a sudden I just die. And it happens, I would say, multiple times a play session. It is so annoying. There's lots of other glitches and quirks. I mean, it is a new game, but they are constant. So I would definitely put that on there. The fourth thing is the lack of a casting distance buffer. If you play WoW, you know what this is, where if I cast at like basically maximum range and the target moves a little bit, it will give me like the buffer from when I started the cast and it was in range in order to hit that target. Where in Throne and Liberty, I swear to God, every time I play, I play a Liberator with Karnix's bow, which means I need to stand far away from my target to get like the maximum damage. And then when I go to cast something and my opponent literally takes one step away, it screws my whole cast and I have to walk forward and then restart my whole cast. And it sounds really minor, but when you're in the game and you're playing, it is super annoying, like extremely annoying. And it happens all the time because there is no buffer. And a lot of people like myself are used to having like a buffer such as in World of Warcraft. So another really, really, really annoying thing that I really hope gets changed in the future. Fifth, I think we're on 5 now. The NPCs in this game never shut the fuck up. I mean, they just talk and they just say the same thing over and over and over again. Like, it just seriously never stops. I'll be in the auction house in like Watcher's Post while I'm like between doing contracts, because I like to do my contracts at Watcher's Post. And the amount of times that I've heard this guy talk about you shouldn't touch the whatever in the ruins of Terrain.
Never ever touch a monument stone or the abandoned armor when patrolling the ruins of Terrain. The undead often hide under those.
Because the skeletons hide in there, and he's like, oh, that's why I got the spooky vibes from there.
Is that so? No wonder I got goosebumps when I walked nearby.
Like, it just all the fucking time, and they just never stop. And I understand to a certain extent that you want the world to feel alive and you want NPCs to be talking, but oh my God, it never stops. There should be an option, and please God, make an option where you can mute NPCs, or you can like reduce the amount of times they say the same fucking thing over and over and over again. So that is definitely up there on the bad. I find in general the game doesn't really do a good job explaining things, which is ironically why I ended up starting doing YouTube in a way. Because like the way that they explain things is they basically do little pop-ups when you like, so for the first time you go into the trait screen, they do little pop-ups with a little arrow, like a little tick box to say, don't show this again. And like, you're out of your mind if you think anybody in 2024 is actually reading those. But like, even then, it's not great info. It doesn't really teach you what you should be taught. And people, you'll see anywhere you go on YouTube, there is Throne and Liberty guides everywhere, because this game does such a poor job of teaching you like how to like, nobody teaches you that you need to, or nowhere does it teach you that you can extract traits and sell traits on the auction house, or that you can lithograph gear and sell it on the auction house. There's nothing that tells you how to make lucin aside from just buy the lucin and be a whale. It's like they don't teach you anything about traits, like nothing. I do feel it does a very, very, very poor job of teaching you a lot of things that are really important in the game. And something that I just thought of that I didn't even have written down that's kind of related to that is they don't teach you during the campaign the importance of like the Q block. And then as soon as you go into endgame, it's super important. And it, at least for me, it took me like a couple days to get like Q blocking really down. And sometimes I still fuck it up. And I think if they actually incorporated that throughout the story, that could also help as well. But in general, the overarching thing, it does not do a good job of explaining things. And NC, Amazon, if you're listening to this, nobody is reading pop-ups. The last two things are the random dungeon queues, which I actually think are a really great welcome addition. The random dungeons, that is, are a really great welcome addition to the game. The queues are a fucking mess. They are awful. You're like, ding, ding, ding. Oh, okay, it's gone again. Okay. Because tanks just queue or healers, and then they're like, oh, I don't like that dungeon, reject, and then it like pops up and it's like, oh, here's your dungeon, oh, reject, oh, here's your dungeon, reject, and then every time somebody rejects something, it just like flickers on your screen over and over again. Super annoying. I'm not a game developer. I don't know how you would work around that, but my God, is it ever annoying. And I don't know. Like, I look at WoW, there's random dungeons in WoW, and WoW doesn't have that problem. So again, I'm not a game dev. Maybe there's a way to fix it, but oh my goodness, it is really annoying queuing for random dungeons. And then the last thing that I'll touch on is, at least for the bad, like, I just wrote down everything I could think of that I don't like about the game, and this is kind of where I'm at. The last thing is the stupid worst mechanic in the game by far. The rain mechanic for Sanctum of Desire is so stupid. I don't know why they had. I don't know if like the loot in Sanctum of Desire is better than the other open world dungeons, or what the case is for this, but for some reason you just have this thing where you can't go there unless it's raining. And then if you die in there and you spawn out and it's not raining, you can't get back in. You're kind of just done. So oftentimes I don't do this anymore, because you can go on an external website and check to see if they will tell you it's raining or not, because Throne and Liberty doesn't even tell you that in the game. But you would queue up like 5 Sanctum of Desire contracts, and you're like, damn, I'm gonna rip these today. And then you teleport over there and it's locked. And now you're stuck with these 5 contracts that you can't do, but you don't want to get rid of either, which means then you can't do other open world dungeons. Like, it's just so, I don't know what they're thinking with that. But it's, I haven't met one person that's like, yeah, this is a great mechanic and I can totally see why. So that was all I had on my list of things that I would say are like bad about the game. So in terms of what's good about the game, I would say the number one thing, at least for me, is that it's a viable free-to-play game. I have not spent a single cent on this game. I didn't have to buy the game itself. I don't have to pay a monthly subscription to the game. If I want to do the battle pass that's in the game, I can farm Lucent for free and then buy that battle pass. It's a really viable free-to-play game, but keyword being free-to-play. I definitely think this game has a heavy arc of pay-to-win. You can really buy all your gear and trade out all your gear if you just have enough money that you want to spend on it. But in terms of being able to just play it and have a good time, I really can't say there's many games like WoW caps you at like at a lower level. RuneScape locks out a lot of the content from you. I would say overall, when you look at like other MMOs, at least the ones that I've played in the past, I would say this is a pretty viable free-to-play game that doesn't lock you out of a lot of stuff, except for the aforementioned large majority of content being locked out due to the top guilds being so powerful. I mean, I'm sure there is some free-to-play people in there, but a lot of them are probably pay-to-play, and that's why they're such a high-ranking guild, in addition to all the other things that make them a great guild, which then kind of it locks a lot of people out. But overall, I would say it's a positive that it is a very viable free-to-play game. I think another great thing is, for the most part, it's a good community. I think a lot of the people are pretty great. I've met a lot of great people in the game. I continue to meet a lot of great people in the game. There are some people who are pretty Not great, I guess, to put it nicely. But I mean, if you go out into the world, like you just go out to downtown, whatever city you're in, you're gonna have people who aren't great and people who are fine. So I don't think that's necessarily a Throne and Liberty problem. I think that's just how the world works. And I would say the percentage of people who are not great is very small relative to the overall population, and I would say that yeah, they're good. I think the community is more or less pretty good, and I've made a lot of good friends along the way. I would say that is another thing that Throne and Liberty has done that's been pretty good, although I don't know if they did that or people just came in, but you get the point. That's a good thing about the game. In recent times, we can see that the devs actually listen to the player base, which, as you can see, oh my God, sorry, I gotta sneeze. Hold on. Okay, the sneeze went away. But as you can kind of see from like recent updates and things, they are listening to the people who play this game. And again, like you look at some other MMOs, they don't really do that. Now, Throne and Liberty is new. Will that fade off over time? Who knows? But right now, I think they're doing a really good job of listening to the players and doing things that the players would like. And I think I think it's a really good job. Again, no complaints. Very strong point in terms of the game itself and the makers, the creators of the game, I guess. Another thing I would say is there's a lot to do. Now, I guess it's subjective because you could think that a lot of stuff is boring and maybe ends up being like chores, but like you've got like your contracts, you've got co-op dungeons, open world dungeons, arenas, ranked arenas, casual arenas, the titles, I think that's how you say it, tower, the other secret dungeon thing that some people do. Guild v Guild content. Did I mention that already? Maybe once or twice. World bosses, world events. Oh God, there's so much I can't even think of. I mean, all the side stuff you can do, cooking, fishing, crafting, whatever. The point is, there is a lot to do in this game. I mean, even if I just had one character, I couldn't even get through one character's worth of stuff. And as a matter of fact, I don't. Mind you, some things don't interest me, so I don't do those things. But I would say I struggle to get through all the content that's out there. There's still things in the game that I'm 150 hours in and I haven't even done yet. And yeah, I think there is a ton to do. And I think there is definitely no shortage. And even if some stuff is grindy, like daily contracts are kind of just like grindy, there's lots of fun things that certainly make up for that, and I think overall there is a lot to do in the game. And then the last thing I guess I have noted here is just in general, it's a fun game. I mean, I enjoy it enough that I've played it for 150 hours over the last 4 weeks and continue to play it. And to be honest with you, the first like week I was playing it, I wasn't even like really fully playing it. I was playing multiple games alongside this one. So the game is fun. I mean, I am excited to come into the world every day. I'm excited to just be in the world and do things. I think it's just like a general overarching point is it's fun. And when you think about it really at the end of the day, I know there's a lot of grinding and in MMOs. There's a lot of competitiveness and feeling like things are chores and trying to get the top gear score. But if you really step back from all of it, at the end of the day, you're just trying to have fun. So as corny and lame as that sounds, otherwise you'd be spending your time doing something else, something that you enjoy more. And I think the game overall is really fun. So yeah, and if you're curious, my background would be coming from things like Destiny 2. Wow, you've heard me reference a lot. Old school RuneScape. Those are the previous MMOs I've played if you're curious on, where my sort of background falls from. But yeah, that's about it. I just wanted to make a video kind of going over like a 1 month review. If you found this probably not useful in any way, but entertaining in any way, please consider subscribing to me. It's free. It helps me a ton. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers, and I'm just over halfway there, which is pretty crazy. I think at 260 subscribers last I checked. So it would help me out a ton. It's free. And as always, have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Bye.